Well, the masks are back. This morning, mandatory masking is returning to some South Bay schools. Thanks for joining us at 6 a.m. I'm Eric Connert.
And I'm Dana Marie McNichol in for Netta Arampur. Well, that new mask requirement comes as we do see a rise in COVID numbers. That's why CBS 8's Ariana Cohen is live in Imperial Beach with what families need to know, as well as their reactions. Good morning, Ariana.
Good morning. Summer break is around the corner. In fact, the last day of school for the South Bay Union School District is next week, yet they are enforcing a mandatory mask mandate due to COVID-19 cases rising. Now, this will apply to indoor and outdoor settings. This, according to the head of the South Bay Union School District in Imperial Beach that issued the mask mandate on Tuesday. It will last until the end of the school year on June 9th, Thursday. This includes all end-of-the-year events and ceremonies and possibly beyond. Here's what some students and parents had to say.
Bring it all back up again. It's not good. We're almost to summer. It'll be okay.
Whatever it is to make us safe, right? I want to be safe.
Some mixed reactions from parents there, and South Bay has more than 6,000 students through 8th grade. The district superintendent said there's been a recent uptick in COVID cases. Now, this comes just 1 week after San Diego Unified, the county's largest district, announced it will also bring back the mask mandate on an individual school basis. If certain criteria is met, for example, if 10% or more of the students are absent for 3 consecutive days due to illness. Now, you'll want to get a mask like this. This is what the experts recommend, the KN95 mask. So if you put your masks away, try to bring them back out. We're live in Imperial Beach where masks are back. Ariana Cohen, CBS 8.
Ariana, thanks for the update. And this morning, new rules in effect for street vendors in the city of San Diego. And CBS 8's Chris Groh live in Balboa Park to explain these new regulations. Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, Eric. And look, you remember, and our viewers are likely to remember, we were previewing this a couple months ago. Well, today, as you wake up, this is now going into place, and it's going to impact vendors as well as customers in places like Mission Beach and Ocean Beach. But let's use Balboa Park as that example as we break this down so that you know exactly what to expect. So this will start today throughout the city. Vendors are going to need to have a permit in order to legally operate and sell their goods throughout the city. The fee for that initially was the subject of controversy for being too expensive, but they eventually got it down and settled at $38. Now, as for setting up, vendors must be 50 feet from each other and not kind of crowded around each other. Specifically to Balboa Park, there's also going to be distances away from certain things that vendors will need to adhere to, like 50 feet from the Botanical Building and Lily Pond. They also need to stay 25 feet away from El Prado and other areas. And as you go through Mission Beach, Ocean Beach, there will likely be specific distances that they need to be away from certain beach access points as well. Now, vendors are also going to be banned from operating during the annual summer moratorium, which is going to be from Memorial Day weekend, so starting basically last weekend, to Labor Day at high traffic locations, like, for instance, Balboa Park. So you're going to see a very big change. I remember I was at Balboa Park about 2 weeks ago around this area. You could see vendors pretty much just seemingly right next to each other. So that picture is going to look very different. Now, as for enforcement, it is going to start at a warning system, and then eventually fines could be imposed. And then the city says that they may even, at the very last resort, go ahead and actually take away or confiscate some of the stalls that these vendors use to sell their goods. Now, of course, things are likely to kind of shake out. They are going to want to get some input from both residents, local businesses, as well as some vendors to kind of craft things to see how it is moving forward with this new ordinance. Eric and Dana Marie.
Thank you, Chris, for that update. Well, funerals continue today for the victims of last week's school shooting in Uvalde, Texas.
Emery Jo Garza and Maite Rodriguez were laid to rest yesterday. The 10-year-old 4th grade classmates were the first funerals of the 21 killed in last week's school shooting. This morning, we're hearing from another student, Chloe Torres, about how teachers tried to protect children from the gunman.
He said, "You'll die," and he shot my friend with the phones, and he shot my teacher, Ms. Garcia, and Ms. Videlas.
Teacher's Irma Garcia's funeral is today. She'll be buried along with her husband. He died of a heart attack just days after the shooting. The funeral for 10-year-old Jose Flores is also today. His 9-year-old sister was hiding in a nearby classroom and made it out safely. Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey grew up in Uvalde. He visited the memorial outside Robb Elementary yesterday. On the day of the shooting, he posted a statement on Twitter calling gun violence an epidemic we can control. He urged Americans to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, what is it that we truly value? As the Uvalde community tries to move forward, questions remain about that day, including why law enforcement waited to enter the classroom. The Texas Department of Public Safety says the school district's police chief has not responded to a request from investigators for a follow-up interview. Police originally said the gunman entered the school through a door propped open by a teacher. CBS News has learned that the door was closed, but it did not lock.
And the White House is considering executive action on gun control, even as bipartisan groups of lawmakers try to find some common ground. Now, President Biden says he does feel Republicans could be open to some type of gun reform. So here's what's under discussion: closing loopholes in the national background check system, a new red flag law allowing judges to take weapons from people considered dangerous, as well as more federal money for mental health programs and school security. Meantime, a group of bipartisan lawmakers in the Senate are working through Memorial Day to recess to continue these talks. And the Texas shooting has sparked discussion on how best to protect students at schools, including arming teachers. A local researcher asked thousands of teachers around the country how they feel about carrying a gun. The study was actually conducted in the wake of the Parkland Max shooting in 2018. The majority of teachers did not think being armed was the solution. Many called for more proactive solutions like addressing mental health.
Regardless of whether they were gun owners themselves, no matter how they felt about the Second Amendment, the majority of the respondents from preschool all the way up to higher ed did not think that being armed in the classroom was the appropriate or effective solution to this problem.
The Texas Attorney General called to arm educators after the Uvalde shooting. Right now, Ohio has a bill that, if passed, would allow their teachers to carry a gun. And this morning, the U.S. is set to unveil a new weapons package for Ukraine as Russia's invasion enters its third month. In an op-ed in the New York Times, President Biden says the U.S. will be giving Ukraine more advanced rocket systems and ammunition. Now, in response, Russia says the U.S. is, quote, adding fuel to the fire.
Well, a new day means new record high gas prices around town. Yep, take a look at the average here now, $6.11 a gallon for regular unleaded. That's where more than 3 cents higher than yesterday's average, and it's over $1 than where we were 1 month ago. San Diego County has now hit a new record for 5 consecutive days. The national price also broke a record today at $4.67. Meanwhile, California Congressman Adam Schiff is introducing a 2-part bill to provide relief for these high gas prices. The first part eliminates the federal gas tax until the end of 2023, which is about 18 cents on the gallon. That tax provides funds for transportation projects, so the bill would offset the cost by taxing big oil companies on what Congressman Schiff calls, quote, excessive windfall profits.
This is not all supply chain problems. This is not all war in Ukraine. This is a lot of oil companies enriching themselves at a time when the public is really vulnerable.
Congressman Schiff says some oil companies saw first quarter profits soar more than 300% over the same time frame in 2021, which I think is the big question, why the lawmakers aren't holding them accountable for all the profits and the price gouging. And some relief is needed. It's necessary at this point.
We talk about it time and time again how, we're the ones who are driving these places, having to refill that gas tank. And every time we go to the pump, we see that price go higher and higher, and we see politicians talking, but we're waiting for some relief. 6:09, it is the halfway point through this week. We are now at Wednesday. Marine layer not quite as dense as we've seen it for the last several weeks, really, and for the month of May. We also are starting off that new month. We are on June 1st. So now that we round out the month of May and can talk about what it was like, it was a cooler than average month for both afternoon highs and overnight lows. Today is expected to be a warmer than average day. 72 along the coast, 85, about 10 degrees warmer than average for your inland valleys. Mountains are going to stretch all the way to 79 degrees with a lot of sunshine and 104 for the deserts, also above average. Partial contribution to this is the lack of clouds. So when we don't have as many clouds outside, it's harder for those clouds to keep us cool. So in turn, we'll warm up pretty quickly by the time the afternoon comes around, especially. We're just around that sunrise time, so if you're seeing a spot right now that's not inundated with clouds, you may see them kind of pass through, but we are going to be moving toward a more broken cloud cover as we head into about 8, 9, 10 a.m. or so. Not looking bad right now, but the coastline does have plenty of those clouds. They just won't stick around all that long through the day. Forecast high temperatures are going to be in the 70s and 80s, but hey, right now we're in the 50s and 60s for the most part. Some pockets of 40s out there at 47 in Ramona, 60 in Carlsbad. Next 12 hour shows will climb, and we'll see those clouds break apart pretty quickly before we move towards sunshine following about 2 p.m. Here are your drive times as you walk out the door right now. We're not looking too bad. We've got speeds mainly in the 60-mile-per-hour range out there. We don't see any yellow or red as of yet right now, so that means that volume is not all that high across the major roadways. We'll keep you up to date if we see any changes. And of course, CBS8.com/traffic is a great place to check out those traffic maps, see where any major crashes or collisions are located.